who has become quickly a good friend of mine. She's incredible, as all of our speakers are today. She is an entrepreneur. She's just one of those people who, when I met her, I said, I see you standing in front of people talking. And she was like, yeah, no. And I pushed her a little bit, and it didn't take much. But she's just such a warm-hearted person. And she has a story to tell you that I really hope that really touches your heart. So I'm going to bring Kelly Wong up. Please go right next one.
Before I speak today, I just wanted to express my gratitude for our host, Paul Saladino. I met Paul for a reading in 2015. And if you told me that back then I would be standing here 7 years later, speaking at his event in front of all his guests, I would say you're crazy, and there's no way in hell I would be doing it. But through all the years of coaching and guidance, I can say that I've been in the best place that I've ever been today because of you. And even though I'm still in my best place, I still get coached by Paul. Do you know why? Because I still want a better version of my best self. So if I can advise any of you that whether you take anything away from any of us today, or if you do a reading or do any kind of coaching, do the hard work, because the rewards are unbelievable, and I can attest to that. And I just want to thank you, because you saw something in me that I didn't see, and I really appreciate everything. And by the way, this is my first speech in front of such a large group, so I apologize for any flaws. Let me reintroduce myself. My name is Kelly Wong. I was born here in the United States. I'm a New Yorker, and my parents are from China. That being said, I am Chinese. I am Asian. I'm an American. I'm an Asian American. And through my 50 years, yes, I am over 50, I've had many different phases of being an Asian American. So please allow me to take you on that journey. As a young child in my teens, I grew up in the 70s, yes, I grew up in the 70s. There weren't many people that looked like me. There weren't many people that looked like me on television. And I think we can all agree that as a child, we just wanted to belong. We just wanted to feel a part of all your other classmates. But when you have Coke bottle glasses and Farrah Fawcett permed hair, this itself is hard to deal with, okay? So, and on top of that, being Asian and having the last name Wong, which is easily to be rhymed with something that to be made fun of, it's a challenge, all right? Because I would have done anything to change my Wong to Kelly O. Wong or Kelly Wongowitz, okay? Because it was, I didn't want the attention. I didn't want to be made fun of. I hated history class because I just didn't want the topic of China to be in discussion. I wanted to hide. And to make things harder, my parents had a store in the middle of town, in between a pizzeria and a candy store, so all the kids would walk by, and in bright neon lights, it said, Wong's Chinese Laundry. I couldn't hide from it. And interesting enough, I saw a show 2 days ago, and I'll tell you a little bit later what the name of the show is. But there was an Asian actress, and she was amongst her peers. And I'm gonna read something of what she said. She said, when I was a kid, I used to stare at my face in the mirror and wonder if I could use my mom's makeup to make me look more American, more white. I wanted to be like other kids. I wanted to feel normal, like I belonged. And I have to say, I felt this way, and I feel bad for saying this now, but I was ashamed. I was ashamed to be Asian, because I just wanted to belong. Now, this wasn't something that I was able to bring back to my parents, because in Asian culture, it's you go to school, don't get into trouble, and get good grades. Even though it was challenging to me, I just couldn't bring that up to them, so I had to deal with that myself and deal with it internally, which I did. It got a little bit easier as I got older. I started to meet more people that looked like me, and I soon accepted for who I am. Now, as I got older into my 30s and 40s, I started to learn more about my ancestors. I wasn't interested in that when I was a teenager, but as I got older, I started to hear of the stories of my mother and her siblings and her mother, my grandmother, and what they endured in World War II. They had to escape from their home and run to the mountains with little food and hide from village to village. They were in survival mode. Ironically, just a couple of months, my mom was watching the news with me, and when we saw the war break out in Ukraine, she said, "That's what I went through." Could you imagine? Something that happened to her in the 1940s is happening again today. How is this possible? My parents met in the United States, and they knew very little English, barely had any education, and very little money. But yet they were able to build a business, and they were able to raise me and my two brothers, and support us through college, and to help us with our first homes. And when I heard of that, and I felt what they did, and I saw what they sacrificed, now I was proud. I was proud to be Asian. What they did for us, I just couldn't imagine how to do that now, today. Not knowing the language, having such little resources. I couldn't imagine just the hardship of being a country where everyone else looks different, but your main goal is to just raise your family to the best ability possible. So now I am in my 50s, and fast forward to 2020. I am now afraid of being Asian. Watching the hate unfold on television, on social media, hearing it from people that I knew, of verbal abuse or physical abuse. Like, why is this happening? We are just as an American as everybody else. And the numbers you hear out there, it's a fraction of what the truth is. Do you know why? It's because Asians don't like to speak up. They don't want anything to be reported. They don't want anybody to know. They want to just hide. Whatever's done, they'll figure it out. They don't have a voice. They don't want to speak up. I didn't really fear for myself. I feared for my 85-year-old mother. My 85-year-old mother was one that was active. She would go to Tai Chi. She would go walking. She would go shopping. She would go to the restaurants. And now I have to say, Mom, you can't leave the house. You can't go across the street to buy milk and eggs. We will drop that off for you. And I struggled with this, and I just could not understand, why is this happening? How did I go from being ashamed to being proud, and now I'm afraid? But I remember something that Paul said to me in one of our exercises a couple years ago. And he said to me, you must take a negative, no matter how bad it is, and you must find a positive to it. And so I did that work. And I do see positive. I do see that we are finally speaking up. I do see that the younger generation now is speaking up for us. This is something that was never possible because we were always told to be quiet. I see more Asians on television, in movies, and now even Netflix. In fact, the show I was talking about early before was on Thursday night. Did anybody see Grey's Anatomy? Yeah, it was called Stranger Than Hate. And it was written by Julie Wong and directed by Chandra Wilson. And it was about an episode how an elderly Asian woman was attacked at a bus stop. And the emotions of the Asian doctors and nurses that had to treat her, and the emotions they felt because it was one of them. But the beautiful thing was Meredith Gray, who's been on the show from the beginning, who's non-Asian. The beautiful thing was that she was by their side and she said, I'm here. I see you. And she ultimately saved the woman's life. I saw that as a sign that I was meant to speak today on this topic. Perhaps it took this unfortunate situation for us to finally have a voice, to finally stand up and to stop hiding. My current phase now is hope. I have hope because I see beautiful stories of resilience, of strength. And we finally have a voice that we're not afraid to use. And we have others who are not Asian helping us have that voice. All of us here in this room are a different color. And we are all different shades of our own color. And just like a rainbow, when the colors are together and they connect, we are just as beautiful. Thank you.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What a beautiful person. We're going to make our second donation to somebody who's very special.